Aloha and welcome to our video on processes in evolution. We're going to describe how changes will occur in the gene pool, and then we'll also talk a little bit about the Hardy Weinberg equilibrium principle. Okay, so first we're going to talk about the processes in evolution. If you recall, with evolution, we're talking about a population of organisms, not a single individual. And that population has to change the gene pool. So it's a genetic change. So what we need to do is we need to find a way of changing or introducing a new allele, or we have to change the selection on the alleles that are being chosen for. And that's how we can get a change in the gene pool and then in turn evolution of a new species. So the first way is through mutation, and mutation quite simply is changing the sequence of the DNA. And there are three easy mutations. We can have an insertion where we put in a new nucleotide, or a deletion where we take one out, or a substitution where we simply switch them. And the results of any of those can be a change in the protein that's being made, and that can be an advantage or a disadvantage. And if it's advantageous, the population over time may choose that allele, or that way it'll be more survival, so they'll have more offspring. Now, a couple other ways are recombination. Recombination, if you remember in meiosis, when we had the crossing over, we can kind of join them up in a little bit of a different pair. So two normally unrelated genes, we can create a new pair for them, and that pair together might be advantageous and then selected for. We also have gene flow, and that's going to be the movement of genes into or out of a population. So that would mean if we introduced a new member to the population with a different trait, that trait might be advantageous, and then that would lead to more breeding, more reproduction, and we could have a change in that frequency, and that would be what could cause the evolution. The same is true as if something moves out and it's no longer there, then we can also see these changes. Now, if it's a smaller population, we can have genetic drift. Okay, and a lot of times that happens after a natural disaster with what's left, or if you have a small population, that'll be because there's not as big of a pool, so a little change is going to be a little bit more pronounced. And then finally, we mentioned that we can also see evolution if we change what we're selecting for. Okay, so if we have a change in the environment, then it may choose a different allele, and that might change the population. So if you think back to our example about the moths, when we had a change in the environment, the population changed. So that would be a change in natural selection. Now, two scientists that dealt with these allele frequencies, or the percentages of the alleles in a population, were Hardy and Weinberg. And what their equilibrium means is that the frequencies in a population don't change unless an evolutionary factor is acting on the population. So things are the way they are unless something's going to happen and cause a change. And that kind of makes sense. Okay, in the equation, which you can see down here, our P is generally going to be our dominant frequency, and then our Q is going to be our recessive allele frequency. Okay, so as always, the lessons will go into a little more detail. Good luck with them, and we will see you in the next video.